The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com.
So we have an interview this evening regarding a measure confirming the mayor's appointment of William Connor to the position of Chief Assessor for the City of Leominster for a term of 3 years, effective immediately. And Bill, you are on the line?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly fine. And thank
Good.
you very much for joining us this evening. This is Gail Feckley of Ways and Means. And the Ways and Means Committee will be interviewing you this evening. The Ways and Means Committee also comprises of Claire Frieda and John Dombrowski. And the other council will also be weighing in if they have any questions or comments for you. So Bill, certainly we are familiar with you, and we've had you before us previously. You're now you were the interim assessor for the City of Leominster. For how long was that, Bill?
I think it's approximately 10 months.
Okay, all right, so that's a good long time. So, but now that we have received this measure, we wanted you to come before us again, and then also for the public, so the public could get to know you a little bit better as their chief assessor. And so, what I would like you to do this evening is, give us a little bit of your background. I know I've seen your resume previously, but I don't have it here right now. So maybe what you could do is update, give us an update on your resume. Also, what's been going on the past 10 months, how things have been going in the assessor's office. And then, just give us an idea of, how you as chief assessor can contribute, your own style to that office. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Bill.
Okay, I'm happy to do this. Thank you for having me. So
You're welcome.
As far as my resume goes, I guess, I'll pretty much stick to the assessing background.
Yeah, certifications and that kind of thing, yeah.
Sure. I began my assessing career as an assistant assessor in Worcester in 2012. And I was there till December of 2015. And in that time, it was the daily life of an assistant assessor was a lot of field work, building permits, stuff like that, cyclical inspections, and then helping the public as they came to the counter and out in the field. And I had plenty of interesting projects to work on while I was there. We had a period of time where we were examining every exempt property in the city, and that got me involved with a lot of properties that we usually don't get to inspect. And while I was there, I earned my MAA designation from Massachusetts Association of Assessing Officers. From there, I became the principal assessor in Shirley, and that was in 2015 through 2017. I ran that office by myself, and I had walked into that office during a recertification period, so I got to work directly with the DOR and understand that process. So we did this. At that time, the recertifications were every 3 years. So that was the 2017 fiscal year triennial recertification, and that went successfully. And while I was in Shirley, besides learning every aspect of the assessing job, one of the big things that I worked on, we had 7 solar programs, pilot programs that came on. 6 of them actually came on while I was there, that had to be negotiated and and all set up and finalized. So in addition to the recertification and the solar project and running the everyday office, really prepared me well to come here in Leominster, where I have been an assistant since then, since 2017, working with Rick Dondero and previously Bill Mitchell. And because of my experience before coming here, Bill Mitchell let me pretty much have hands-on everything in the office. I was capable of doing everything that was required, just on, on a bigger scale than Shirley, on a smaller scale than Worcester, but it was the perfect fit. I got to work with Rick Dondero, who is, by far one of the best assessors I've ever met. And he does a fantastic job. So together, it's just been a fantastic experience. And when Bill Mitchell left, he left right after our certification year, which was fiscal year 2020. We had a great, successful recertification with the DOR, and he left shortly after that. And this past year was an interim year with the DOR that went off without a hitch. And now we are into February of 21 in a pandemic.
Yep.
So seen a lot of stuff, and we're kind of in new ground right now, but as assessors, we do reporting of the market. So we are well prepared to deal with what's ahead.
Okay, so in the office right now, so Rick does, I know, a lot of the field work, right?
Yeah, Rick is, he's in charge of first and foremost of our sales inspections, which is, primarily one of the most important parts of the job. To get that reported accurately and as many as we can. Rick has done an incredible job. If you ever have an occasion to speak to the people at the DOR, they will tell you how spectacular our data has been in Leominster. And I attribute a lot of that to Rick.
Yeah. So he's on the road, and then you're in the office, and then you have another. Do you have another person in the office?
Right now, that's vacant. It's been vacant since Bill Mitchell has left.
Okay. All right.
We have two clerks up front.
Okay. That helped when the public come in. Okay. All right. Great. Well, I know that Bill, during the tax classification hearing, you and Rick were very, very helpful. I know that, I can speak for the council that, we all were very pleased with that presentation, and you made it very easy to understand. And that's not easy to do, because I know it's a lot more complicated than even, we know. So we really appreciated that. And, we appreciate that you are willing to stay on for the city of Leominster. And, I'm going to be very pleased to be able to recommend your appointment later on during the meeting. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass you on to Councilor Frida to see if she has any questions and comments for you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Bill. How are you?
Hi. Great. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Let me just validate what you said about DOR, because I work quite a bit with DOR, as you know, with the state involvement that I have, and it's really great to hear some of the things they do say about our city. And there are some communities that are so far behind us and below us that it's really encouraging and makes us proud with what's going on on the state level with your office. We have been fortunate over the years to have really exceptional leadership in that office. We know it's not easy for people to go into that office and be upset about their tax bills and try to understand why they are what they are. And it takes not just the knowledge, but it also takes a certain level of patience and understanding to be able to take the time and walk through, those positions. That taxpayers don't have a lot of interaction with government. They hope they never have to use the fire department or the police department. But if they're homeowners, they know they're watching their taxes and their assessments, and it's something that many of them want to understand. You and I have had many conversations. Clearly, it's part of my job, as you know. We've had that conversation and talked about Worcester's accessibility and how they did different things, and it's setting their tax rate and a lot of the different areas. And we're just far ahead. And we were lucky with Bill Mitchell. He was a great resource there, and you've certainly fit the bill. With a tough act to follow, but you certainly went into that very well, as far as I'm concerned, and being knowledgeable about many assessors' office, because that is my job. You're right on with Rich Tondero, and I think you make a great team up there. So I'm going to be really happy to support your nomination tonight.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, all set, Councilor Frida?
I am, thank you.
You're welcome. Councilor Dombrowski?
Yes, thank you. Hello, Mr. Connor. I'm well informed of the good work by Bill in that office. So I'm very pleased to be able to confirm his appointment as well, and I just want to wish him the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other councilors have any questions or comments for Bill Connor? Okay, second time. Okay, Bill, I guess you are all set. I think that we are ready to do a positive outcome on this appointment, and we're very pleased, again, that you have considered the city of Leominster for this important position. And I do also want to say hi to Rick Dondero, because I know that he's here supporting you. And
Absolutely.
I wish the two of you, I wish the two of you the best of luck. And please let me know if I can be of any service to you in the future. And thank you very much for coming here this evening virtually. Too bad we couldn't meet with you face to face, but hopefully soon.
Well, thank you again for having me, and I can't express what a pleasure it is to be here and to serve. So thank you so much again, and have a good night.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a nice night. Thank you.
Bye, Rick. Okay, Mr. President, I'm all set with that interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman Veckley. I think we're well past 6:25, so the Legal Affairs Chair can begin the hearing on C-56.
Thank you, Mr. President. Communication 56. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the City Council submit a request pursuant to Article 2, Section 8, Paragraph 1, Clause 1 of the amendment of the Constitution as amended by Article 89, that State Senator John Cronin and State Representative Natalie Higgins file special legislation with the General Court on behalf of the city, seeking to exempt the positions of police chief and police captain from the Civil Service Law, General Law, Chapter 31, as follows: an act exempting the positions of police chief and police captain in the city of Leominster from the Civil Service Law. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives and General Court assembled, and by the authority of the same as follows. Section 1. The positions of police chief and police captain in the city of Leominster shall be exempt from Chapter 31 of the general laws. Section 2. This act shall take effect upon its passage. I'd first like to inquire if there's anyone from the police department or the unions on the line tonight for this public hearing. Do we have anybody? Okay, so I'm not hearing anyone. We did get a couple of letters. I have a letter dated February 9th from the law firm Sardelli and Grace. I'll read that into the record. The reference is this particular communication. Dear council members, I represent the Leominster Superior Officers Association, Mass COP, Local 282, the union. As you may recall, I wrote to you back on September 28th, 2020, with respect to an act exempting the positions of police chief and police captain in the city of Leominster from the civil service law. It is my understanding that this proposed act is scheduled for a public hearing on February 22nd, 2021. Since my last correspondence, the mayor resumed negotiations with the union and reached a subsequent agreement for the removal of the chief and captain's position from the civil service law, General Law, Chapter 31. In addition, the parties have reached a subsequent agreement with respect to the promotional criteria and appointment procedures for these two positions, once removed from the requirements of General Law, Chapter 31. I am pleased to report that the union recently voted to ratify the modified agreement. As a result, the union is in full support of Communication 56. Thank you for your consideration. Very truly yours, Attorney Karine Morgan. We also received a letter from the police chief, Aaron Kennedy, dated February 16th, 2021. Dear council members, I am writing in support of removing the chief of police and captain positions from civil service. The Massachusetts Civil Service Commission is an outdated and broken system that does not consider the city of Leominster's best interests. With the recent police reform that the Massachusetts legislature recently passed, police officers' jobs will change. It is beneficial that at least have two cohesive positions that are not obligated to a civil service. Having two non-civil service positions working together to lead our police department will ensure that our police department can meet current and future demands of changing legislation that directly impacts the city of Leominster. Removing the police chief and captain positions from civil service would allow the city to offer viable in-house candidates a contract with performance-based goals, job performance reviews, and job security. A set term agreement would also allow the city the opportunity to have fresh faces instead of a lifetime leadership team that we will be subject to if we stay under current civil service law. Law enforcement is ever changing, even more so now. There is more pressure than ever on police departments to be pliable and change with society. I want to inform the council that a professional police assessment company will run this process and administer performance-based scenarios for the chief of police and captain's positions. Civil service exams do not effectively evaluate an applicant's ability to communicate, handle labor relations, establish departmental goals, manage a budget, mentor police personnel, and are capable leaders. One of the shortcomings of civil service and any promotion system that relies almost exclusively on written exams is the possibility of producing a leader that is book smart but lacks people skills and is short on leadership ability. And respectfully, Chief Aaron Kennedy. I'll go to my my committee first, but I would say that I have a lot of questions. So I don't see us being able to make a decision on this without the people coming down to answer those questions. I'll go to Councilor Shalafo Zephyr. I don't know how you feel about that.
I agree with you, Councilor Dombrowski. And in looking at the, my first question is, are we waiting for any other of the unions to weigh in? And then secondly, in looking at the letter dated February 9th, 2021 from Sandelli Grace that you read into the record, and I'm quoting from the letter, the parties have reached a subsequent agreement with respect to the promotional criteria and appointment procedures for these two positions. I'd like to know what those are specifically, what they actually negotiated. So I am in agreement with you. I think we need more information, and I think that we need the principal parties to, attend one of our meetings so we can get those answered. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, when the communication was first posted, I didn't realize we had to have a public hearing. So my goal was to have a subcommittee hearing and invite people down to speak and, explain the ramifications of the Police Reform Act and what have you. But I guess what we'll be able to do is just do that as a public hearing process. Councilor Cormier, your thoughts on what I had said?
Yeah, I totally agree. I certainly have had some conversation, about this. And certainly I think that this new police reform has certainly changed the conversation regarding this issue. I think the conversation is very different today than it was even 6 months ago with, removing these positions from civil service. I had a lot of questions about this, years ago when when it was proposed. And I think things have changed, and I'm certainly willing to listen and gain more information. And certainly everybody should, hear it at once, from the horse's mouth, what this actually all means and the protections that are actually there. Not only, for the unions, obviously they're in support of this, but, for the citizens of Leominster to ensure that they're going to have a police chief, that is qualified to do the job. And I think that, as we have more conversation about this, we'll hear that under the new reform bill that I believe that allows for that, and taking these jobs out of civil service might be very different now than it was even a year ago. So I do want to have more conversation about it, though. I agree.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to other members of the council if they want to weigh in on essentially continuing the public hearing and having the chief and other officers call in so that we can get more information and weigh all this in a more effective manner. Does anyone else have anything to say?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilor Angelini, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I may add that we should be in receipt of a third letter dated February 10th, 2021 from the Leominster Superior Officers, MCOP Local 282. If you would like, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to read that into the record if you don't have it.
I appreciate that. I don't have that in front of me, so I appreciate that.
Certainly. Here we go. Dated February 10, 2021, addressed to the City Council, City of Leominster, 25 West Street, Leominster, Massachusetts. RE, an act exempting the positions of police chief and police captain in the City of Leominster from civil service law, communication C-56. Dear council members, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, there's some background noise here.
Let me fix that for you right now. I apologize.
Thank you.
How about
all right
now? Is that better?
Much better, thank you. Dear council members, the Superior Officers Union unanimously voted for removing the chief and captain positions from civil service. Since February of 2020, we have been negotiating with the city about removing the chief and the captain positions from civil service, C-54, now C-56. We understand this is a change in practice for both the city of Leominster and the police department. We welcome this as we are witnessing. Okay, thank you. We welcome this as we are witnessing policing in Massachusetts and across the country change. This communication, C-56, is necessary to have the police department keep pace with police reform as it evolves. The removal of civil service from upper management positions is not an uncommon practice. There are currently 141 civil service police departments in Massachusetts. 61 of these departments have non-civil chiefs. 32 police departments have entirely exited from civil service. Most recently, the city of Framingham and the city of Marlborough Police Department are no longer in civil service. Civil service is an outdated merit system introduced in 1884 to protect hiring and discipline from patronage and political interference. Today, we have policies and collective bargaining agreements that afford these protections. The support of C-56 from the City Council would allow the agreed upon Memorandum of Understanding, MOU in parentheses, to be executed. The police department would be able to move forward by adding crucial command positions now and in the future. Respectfully, Daniel Proetti, Sergeant, President, the Superior Officers Union, MCOP Local 282.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilor Angelini.
You're welcome. But if I may, just a quick comment. I mean, we've heard now from the law firm representing the Police Officers Union, we've heard from the police acting chief. We've heard from the Superior Officers Union as well. And it seems to me that all parties are on board and favorable to the petition that was submitted to us by the mayor. So I would have no problem moving forward on this in light of the clear endorsements that were read into the record this evening by the interested parties. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Angelini. Any other councilors want to weigh in on continuing the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, this is Councilor Frida.
Councilor Frida, you have the floor.
First, let me say that I was very happy to hear you say there were a lot of questions. And I think the fact that nobody dialed in tonight to comment, I think that is not a good sign in my book. I understand we're getting letters. And if you listen to some of the things in those letters, there hasn't been a permanent police chief for 10 years in the city. Some of those things could have happened. There could have been a captain position put in. We don't need the removal of civil service to have that happen. I think there's been frustration over the years and from the police department, just, with the different chiefs that have been put into place. And they haven't been civil service positions. So I think there's a lot of mixed message here. We've gone through this, twice, I think. And, this is not something that we need to think about for this particular administration. It's for the future of the city as well. We don't hear anything about the fire department being taken out of civil service. There's no desire for that. And some of the, I think we need, I agree, policing is going to, reform is going to change this. We don't know to what level though. And I think we need to have a clear understanding of how the police reform bill is going to affect the city of Leominster before we move forward on anything. And I think there are a lot of questions that need to be answered. And although I have 100% support for the police chief, and I certainly agree with some of his comments, I'm not quite sure that it's appropriate for an interim acting police chief to be making comments on keeping the taking the position out of civil service. I mean, the unions are one thing, but you know, the chief's position is something different. So I'm a little concerned about that. And again, it has nothing to do with his job. I absolutely support Aaron Kennedy and think the world of him. So I just think that the conflict of interest there, or a possibility, just kind of bothers me a little bit. I think we do have a lot of questions to ask, and I think we didn't rush the last time. We came up, you know, with our own individual opinions, and I'm really looking forward to you doing the same this time, and take our time and make sure whatever we decide is in the best interest of the city for the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frida. Any other councilors want to weigh in on continuing this matter?
Councilor Dabrowski, Councilor Feckley?
Okay, Councilor Feckley, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to add that I too would be in support of keeping the public hearing open. I have a lot of questions. This seems to be, you know, quite a reversal of opinion from the last time that we had this before us. And, you know, I understand about police reform and all that, but reading letters and actually having, you know, live people come before us and so that we can ask them questions is two totally different things. So I would not feel comfortable moving forward with this without being able to ask questions of people that can appear before us virtually. So thank you.
Okay, and I would add that I believe the police reform legislation is well over 100 pages long. I thought I heard the council president wanted to weigh in.
I did. Thank you, Councilor. I'm amply persuaded by Mr. Proietti's letter, Sergeant Proietti's letter, as well as the chief's letter. I understand that there is, you know, a desire on the part of some councilors for additional information, would have perhaps asked questions to the parties that wrote those letters. But for me, for one, I'm ready to proceed. I just wanted to give you my opinion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Any other councilor want to weigh in at this point? Okay, I'm going to go to the public, as this is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public on the line tonight who wish to address the council either in favor of or against Communication 56? Second time, does any member of the public wish to address the council either in favor of or against Communication 56? Third and final time, are there any members of the public who wish to address the council either in favor of or against Communication 56? All right, seeing none, it's going to be my recommendation that we continue this public hearing, and we'll send out, during the regular business of the council, we'll send out, I'll ask the president for a vote to send out invitations for the heads of the unions, as well as the chief and perhaps the mayor, as this is his petition, to call in on the line and address some of our questions. I'll make sure my committee is still in agreement with that. Councilor Zephyr?
Yes, I agree with that.
And Councilor Cormier? David?
Sorry, I had you on mute. I agree as well.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. President, we're going to request to leave this meeting open, and I'd ask the clerk for a date and time for further public hearing.
Very well.
Councilor Dombrowski, we're looking at March 8th at, I just want to double check two things. How much time do you feel would be appropriate, Councilor Dombrowski? Because I'm thinking maybe 6 o'clock if you feel it's going to be a bit.
I think it is going to be a bit.
Then I would recommend 6 o'clock, please.
6 o'clock?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
6:56. I'm going to conduct the public forum right now. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on a matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. Is there any member of the public that wishes to be heard in the public forum?
My name is David Erickson from 202 Hill Street.
Thank you very much, Mr. Erickson. You may proceed.
I'm calling in regard to the pole location on Hill Street, a support pole for current pole 27. Is this the appropriate time to speak to that matter?
It is. You may proceed.
Okay, I'm the owner of 202 Hill Street, formerly the Bowtell Farm, and the two lots that are being proposed for the installation of a new support pole number 27-84. I've owned these properties for 35 years, now paying just under $12,000 a year in property tax bills, some of which I'm sure is based on the spectacular view that I enjoy up here on Hill Street. I believe that this pole will take away from some of that view. I currently mow the picturesque field that the pole will be in, its support structure will be placed in, as well as surrounded in the summer with portable electric fencing to graze both my goats and my sheep. The placement of this pole is going to interfere with both of these land uses. I purchased the lot a number of years ago for my own protection, as well as the future building lots for my 2 children. And as most people know up here, driveway access has been very difficult and expensive for all of the other developed lots on this hill. And placement of this pole will seriously limit my options for driveway access to my building lot, as well as obstructing their view. I've examined other poles along Hill Street and also the upper part of Low Street, as well as their support mechanism, and I have some observations and suggestions for solving the leaning problem of the current pole number 27 without having to locate a pole across the street on my property. And if the council would like to hear those suggestions, I'd like to give them.
Mr. President,
Yeah, I was just going to, Council, I got this. Mr. Erickson, in a few moments, the chairwoman of public service is going to conduct a hearing on 36-21. It might be appropriate for you at that time to weigh in when the public portion of that hearing is arrived at.
Okay, again, I was not sure using, I'm just not sure using this phone format when it's my turn to speak.
That's okay.
Sorry if I spoke out of place.
No, you did not. Absolutely have the right to address it in the public forum as well. But perhaps if you could hold those thoughts as to the potential, your proposed solution to this, I'm sure that the chairwoman of public service would be welcoming your comments with respect to that when we get to 36-21.
I'll hold the line, and hopefully my battery will hold out too.
Okay, very well. We'll be with these pretty shortly. Okay, is there any other member of the public that wishes to be heard in the public forum? And a second time, any member of the public that wishes to be heard in the public forum? And a third and final time, is there any other member of the public that wishes to be heard in the public forum? Hearing none, I'll declare the public forum closed. And if all could rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me at this moment. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'll now take the roll of councilors in attendance, starting with Councilor Frida.
Present.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Present.
Councilor Shalafo.
Present.
Councilor Feckley.
Present.
Councilor Angelini,
Present.
Councilor Arndinger,
Present.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Present.
Councilor David Cormier.
Present.
I shall be recorded as present. All 9 members of the council are in attendance. Does the chairwoman of record have a report?
I do, Mr. President. I have the regular council meeting minutes of February 8th and our special meeting of February 10th. I find them to be in order and ask to be placed on file.
Very well, that may be done. I'll now ask for a motion to recess.
Motion for a recess. Councilor
Councilor David Cormier, do I have a second?
I'll second. Councilor Angelini.
Thank you, Councilor Angelini. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? By a vote of 9-0, we are in recess, and I will turn this hearing, I'll turn to the next hearing, which is 36-21, and I'll turn it over to the Chairwoman of Public Service.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did not mean to cut you off. I just felt that Mr. Erickson's comments were important to this hearing, so.
No problem. We're on the same page.
36-21, National Grid and Verizon. Request to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures, along and across the following public way. Hill Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole on Hill Street, beginning at a point approximately 675 feet south of the center line of the intersection of Low Street and continuing approximately 16 feet in a western direction. Installing a new pole, number 27-84, with an anchor roughly 27 feet from existing pole 27, to allow for the anchor to set approximately 5 feet away using a sidewalk fixture to stay in the public way. Pole number 27-84 is to help prevent pole number 27 from leaning too far over. Do we have somebody from National Grid on the line?
Yes, how are you? Mark Tapley, National Grid. How are you tonight?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm good. So we have a customer further down the street that's doing putting solar on their home, and we need to extend primary further down in order to put a transformer closer to their home. In doing so, we have to replace a few poles that are not big enough for the primary. And when I got down to pole 27, it was deemed that it was leaning too far over, and we had to brace it to prevent it from potentially falling over into the property of 221. There's roughly about 35 feet of the public way for that road, according to the Massachusetts property maps. And the attempt here is to keep the pole in the public way with a sidewalk fixture to pull that pole over and keep it more upright. But I would be willing to listen to the gentleman from Hill Street and take his recommendations into consideration to see if I might possibly be able to work something out with him to appease him.
Well, that is going to be my suggestion ultimately. But before that, let me just ask if, what makes your determination as to replacing poles rather than putting these poles to keep an original pole from leaning? And
so,
I mean, there's a lot of those now.
So if we just put a new pole in place of a leaning pole, the new pole over the next couple of years is going to begin to lean as well. So if I'm working on a pole that needs to be replaced due to it leaning, we tend to try to put the support structure in to stop it from leaning. That's usually what goes into this. And we had went down to this pole here, and that's where I said that I felt we needed to support this pole as it was leaning pretty far over towards the property 221.
So for this, the gentleman that, what number of property did you say it was for the solar?
I'm 202 Hill Street, as well as 2 adjoining lots that are now affected by this new pole installation. I own 3 lots in a row.
Right, so Mr. Erickson, are you the gentleman in question that National Grid is speaking about with the solar?
Yes, yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
No,
All right.
no, excuse me. No, we're doing the solar for house number 193 Hill Street for this particular
Oh, yeah,
job.
no, I'm
Okay,
not,
but,
I'm not the solar installer.
Mr. Erickson, if I could let National Grid finish the explanation, and then I certainly will go to you right away to have a discussion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No problem. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just saying that I was just clarifying the address that's getting the solar is address 193.
Okay, so, and that's coming, is that going towards Low Street? Or
That's going away from Low Street. It's going away from Low Street. Yes, that's correct.
So Mr. Erickson's property, and you can address it after, will be closer to Low Street then?
Well, the pole the pole Mr. Erickson's questioning is right across from his property, the one that's leaning, and the proposal was to place a stub pole at the edge of his property in the public way with an anchor to help that pole that's leaning.
Okay, I did ride up there, and I didn't notice any issue, but did you have a discussion with Mr. Erickson before you made that determination?
I did not. This is my first chance speaking with Mr. Erickson.
Okay, because we've had concerns before that, you know, proposals come in and the affected parties aren't part of the conversation. So that might be a practice you want to remember for the future. If you're going to be on close to somebody else's property to accommodate somebody else, you might want to just have that conversation with them. It'd just be really good practice. Even though you might not have to, it'd be a courtesy.
We typically have door knockers that we've recently put into place where we put on a person's property. But when I was out there, I didn't know which address it would have been, and then the hearing was in place prior to me being able to get back out there to find out where the home was that Mr. Erickson occupied.
Okay, that's understood. Anything else you would like to add before I go to Mr. Erickson?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Erickson, thank you for being patient.
Oh, no, thank you very much, and I'm sorry if I spoke out of place before. I just am not used to this format of meeting.
You absolutely did not. The only reason it was duplicating was because we did have the public hearing on the same, right after the public comment. So either one, I just didn't want you to have to repeat yourself. That was all. And it's important to go on the record on this one.
Okay. So there's no need for me to read what I already said. I can move right into my suggestions about possibly securing and strengthening pole 27.
Right. We'll make sure that the clerk transfer some of those comments to that as well. So yes, start from where you feel comfortable.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Start where you were planning on beginning.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. Well, as you come up Low Street, I begin with pole number 18 on Low Street, which is in front of 180 Low Street. It has a heavy transformer on it, the same as pole number 27, the leaning pole, but it doesn't have any guy wire at all. It's a perfectly plumb and straight pole. And it's also on a slight inward curve. And if you come up to pole, but it's a full diameter pole. I should probably precede all of this by saying that pole 27 is a somewhat archaic, very skinny, old phone pole, much smaller in diameter than any of the other poles that have been replaced along our street in the last number of years. Hence, I mean, that's the reason, part of the reason why it's leaning. It does have a transformer on it, but it's in a straight line. It doesn't have the pull of a pole that would, be in a curve. If
Well,
you
that was
come up
part
to
of,
pole ni-
part of my question.
the pole is, in my estimation, and I'm not a lineman or a telephone person, in my estimation and in the estimation of my neighbors who support me, pole number 27 appears to be substandard and quite old. It needs to be replaced by a heavier duty pole that would be bigger in diameter and probably placed a little deeper into the ground so that it would stay vertical. Because many of the other poles along that line are newer poles, larger diameter poles that also have transformers on them and don't have, poles across the street with guy wires crossing the road. There are two poles on Low Street, pole number 19 and also pole number 22, that have angled support poles, pole number 19-89 and pole number 22-89. These are inwardly angled wooden poles that buttress a pole that does have stress on it. So, I mean, it seems to me there's a precedent right down the street where they could also put a angled buttress pole to support it rather than try to pull it from the other side of the road, which not only does it make, mechanical sense to me, it also is the visual an unnecessary obstruction to our neighborhood.
All right.
The other thing about pole 27, and this is the end of my comment, is that it's very close to the edge of the pavement, much closer than pole 28, which is just down the hill from it, one pole, or any of the other poles on the road. And if they were to re-drill a new hole and put a new, more substantial pole in, and they moved it in even another foot, it would get it, you could almost construe pole 27 as a safety hazard because it's so close to the edge of the road. And, Hill Street is kind of a racetrack up here. We have had a death from a speeding car here a number of years ago. And that pole is right out tiptoes on the edge of the pavement. I think the whole thing needs to be looked at in different light before we make any decision here. That's the end of my comment.
All right. I appreciate those comments. Thank you very much. Mark, I'm going to go back to you. I did drive up there, as I said. I did not notice 27 being that much smaller, but that was kind of my point on why would you not replace it if it's leaning? And Mr. Erickson makes a point, depending on the property availability, to move it in a little bit and away from the street. Why would you not put a new pole up?
I'm actually replacing poles 24, 25, 26, and 27 as part of this job.
Oh, you are replacing it. You just said
I am replacing that pole.
Oh, didn't you just tell me that if you put a new one, it was going to lean as well?
If we put a new one in without the proper support, it will eventually lean as well. That is correct.
So you're saying you're going to put a new pole in, but you're still going to put the anchor?
Yes, the anchor is to support it from leaning in the future. So what will happen is if we leave this pole without the support structure, it is going to eventually start pulling back over the primary and the telephone lines that are there are going to start pulling it back over time. And it's to prevent this from happening in the future and hardening the system up in that area. As far as using a push brace or the angular pole, those we typically try to stay away from due to the complexity of maintaining those when you have to adjust poles, move poles, and the distance that they normally will stick out into a person's property. It is something I could look into, and I could speak with the homeowner at 221 and see if they would give me an easement to place that there, if that is something that may appease everybody.
Okay, obviously, this is presenting a problem. I'm sure you're aware of that at this point. There's no way that I'm going to recommend that we pass this tonight without having a discussion. Will you meet with Mr. Erickson and have some discussion about, and if you need to bring in the other homeowner with, that is asking for the solar, bring him into the picture and have a discussion about this and see if there's an agreement?
Yes, I will reach out to Mr. Erickson. I do not know if I have his information.
We'll
but
make sure
I
that
will
the
be.
clerk, we'll make sure that the clerk has that information. We'll ask Mr. Erickson to contact the clerk, and then she can forward it to you.
I'll bring it to the
Perfect.
clerk tomorrow, no problem.
Okay,
All right,
I will
thank you.
be in the Leominster area on Thursday, and I can possibly be in the area tomorrow if that would work for you as well.
Thursday, I'm working in New York City, but tomorrow would be fine.
Okay, I'll be in the area probably close to about 1 o'clock, if that would work for you. I can meet you over there. We can
1 p.m.
discuss this.
1 p.m. on Tuesday?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, and that we'll meet right at pole 27?
Yeah, that works for me, and we can discuss this and take care of this.
Perfect, thank you very much. I appreciate your cooperation.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
All right. Thank you for your comments, Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Counselor, very much. Have a good evening.
You're welcome. Mark, we're going to leave this public here. I'm going to request that we leave the public hearing open.
Okay.
I'll let you have the conversations with the necessary homeowners there, and then you can report back to us at the next public hearing, or if you need anything from me in the meantime, reach out to me as well if you think I can facilitate anything.
Okay, perfect. And I will be at the hearing on the 8th as well. I do
All
have
right.
a meeting then too, so.
Perfect. All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Hi,
Thank you.
good evening.
All right.
Good evening, Counselor. Counselor?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Hi, Counselor.
Oh.
My name is Douglas Hofer. Hello?
Hello? Yes, go ahead. I can hear you.
Hi. My name is Doug Hofer. I'm actually the homeowner of 193 Hill Street.
Okay.
So I've been a neighbor of Mr. Erickson for 25 plus years, and certainly do not want to do anything that would, affect his property or his future plans for his property. And to be honest, unfortunately, I've been going through this the company I chose. This has been dragging on for over 2 years. So for various reasons, not specific to National Grid that I'm aware of, but I just wanted to make it be known that, I don't want to do anything that would affect Dave and his property and his future plans for his property. So hopefully I could make myself available as well, and hopefully can come up with a plan that is acceptable to all.
Well, I appreciate that, and that was exactly why I requested Mark Tapley speak with both of you at the same time. And I'm sure you both have recommendations you could make, and I think it's really great that you're not looking to upset another neighbor as well, and that's how you live near each other for 25 years and remain neighborly. So
Yep.
that will be the request of Mark, is to speak with both of you and listen to all the concerns. And March 8th, we will continue this. So March 8th, we'll have the discussion back on as to what the resolution was, if there was any, and if there isn't, then we'll deal with that at that time. So please be sure to get back to us on that date, you and Mr. Erickson both, and anybody else that in the public that might want to weigh in, and we'll be good to go.
Hey, Counselor.
Right. Thank you, Counselor.
This is another person speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
My name is Frank Flynn. I live at 234 Hill Street.
How are you, Mr. Flynn?
We're good. And the post that the National Grid is talking about will actually be in my direct line of sight. And I have to tend to agree with Mr. Erickson. And he's accurate about talking about the length of time that old number 27 pole has been there. It's been there. We've been living here for 32 years, and that same pole has been leaning for the 32 years. So I think the best bet would be to really just replace that pole. And that's my feeling.
Well, and that's why we're going to try to get to the bottom of it and have a conversation and have all the parties be involved, and we'll get back to it on March 8th. If that is the best solution, then we certainly will make that recommendation. But, you know,
sounds like a plan.
Yes. So
okay.
Please feel free to weigh in on March 8th if you feel necessary.
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Conra.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on this petition 36-21? Again, is there anyone else that wishes to speak on for or against 36-21? For the last and final time, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? 36-21?
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, Stephen Flynn, 178 Hill.
Go ahead, Mr. Flynn.
Okay. I'm a neighbor up on Hill as well. I've overheard everybody's comments, and, you know, I'm kind of in agreement as a homeowner, anything that we can do to try to eliminate having to alter properties. And I'm also in full agreement that I think replacing that pole with something heftier and probably a little bit deeper, which sounds like it would solve everybody's problem. So that's just my saying on that.
We appreciate that. We thank you for your comments. And this council is well aware of, you know, the polls throughout the city, and we've heard pros and cons. So we work in the best interest of the community. So we will certainly be looking at that and waiting for the comments from National Grid and how those conversations take place. So again, we will be discussing this at the remainder of the public hearing on March 8th, and hopefully we have a resolution. If we don't, then the council will determine one. So thank you for your comment. Is there anyone else in the public? You're welcome. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to comment on 36-21? For the last and final time, is there anyone else that wishes to comment 36-21? Okay. Is there any councilors that wish to weigh in on 36-21? Is there anybody from the public, from the Public Service Committee that wishes to comment?
Councilor Frida, this is Councilor Feckley.
Hi, Councilor Feckley, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say that I think that, you know, this is a good start in the right direction to have all the neighbors meet with National Grid, and thank National Grid for their willingness to meet so quickly. And hopefully we'll be able to come up with a solution that will make everybody happy.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else wish to comment? If not, Mr. President, I'm going to request that we keep the public portion of the hearing open as well, and just continue the hearing to March 8th.
That may be done. We will vote that formally once we get into the agenda. Thank you, Councilor. That concludes your hearing, at least for this evening.
It does. Thank you.
All right, moving on to Legal Affairs has 3 stop sign public hearings. Councilor Dombrowski, are you ready to proceed?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 33-21, Gail Seckley. Amend section 13-77 stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for southeastbound traffic on Linda Street at Day Street. We did get a recommendation from the traffic agent of the Leominster Police Department approving this petition. I just quickly asked Councilor Feckley to summarize the reason for the petition for us.
Yes, thank you. Actually, I could summarize all three basically in the same way, but I was approached by a resident of the area, Linda, Tina, and that area there is quite heavily, there's quite a few homes there, and I could see how traffic could get a little bit tight. Also, Day Street and Lincoln Street are both relatively well-traveled roads, so I can see the necessity for stop signs. I think you would need to stop. I mean, I go right up there. You would need to stop, if you were being a responsible driver in any event before you proceeded out of Linda, Tina, or Tina at Linda. So I think that all of these stop signs will help that heavily populated area getting their cars to and from, especially maybe in the morning and in the afternoon when things are busier.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilor Feckley. My recommendation would be to grant, yes, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr her position. And Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
Okay. Are there any other councilors that wish to weigh in on this petition? Okay, hearing no one, I'll go to the public. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the council either in favor of or against this petition? Second time, does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against this petition? Third and final time, does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against this petition? Seeing none, unless there's any further comments, Mr. President, I would close the public hearing.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor Dombrowski. You may now proceed with the public hearing relative to 34-21.
Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 34-21, Gail Feckley, amend section 13-77, stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for northwestbound traffic on Tina Street at Lincoln Street. We also got a favorable recommendation from the traffic agent of the police department. And I'll ask the author, Councilor Feckley, if you wish to summarize this real quick, or if you're content with resting on the last one.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same, approached by a resident, and coming from Tina onto Lincoln Street again, Lincoln Street, either taking a left or a right, Lincoln Street is a relatively high traveled road, and as a responsible driver, you would need to stop in any event. So, this will be a good addition to the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Feckley. My recommendation would be to grant this petition. I'll go to the other members of Legal Affairs. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
I agree.
And Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
Okay, does any other member of the City Council have a question or comment on petition 34-21? Hearing none, I'll go to the public. Does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against petition 34-21? Second time, does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against petition 34-21? Third and final time, does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against petition 34-21? Seeing none, and again, Mr. President, unless there are some final comments or questions by members of the council, my position would be to close the public hearing.
Very well. Thank you, Councilman Dombrowski. And finally, you have a public hearing with respect to 35-21.
Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 35-21, Gail Feckley. amend section 13-77 stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for southwestbound traffic on Tina Street at Linda Street. The traffic agent for the police department was also in favor of this petition. I'll yield the floor quickly to the author, Councilor Feckley.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, again, approached by a resident. Tina and Linda is a kind of a very small approach. Tina going into Linda's kind of a crowded approach. So I can see that this will also be a good addition to the neighborhood. And then with the stop sign on the other side of Tina, I think it's going to make for safety in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Feckley. I'm in favor of granting petition 3521. I'll go to other members of Legal Affairs. Councilor Shalapa-Zephyr.
I agree.
And Councilor David Cormier. Okay, any other members of council have any questions or points they'd like to make on this petition? Okay, hearing nobody, I will go to the public. Does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against petition 35-21? Second time, does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against petition 35-21? Third and final time, does any member of the audience wish to address the council either in favor of or against petition 35-21? Seeing none, again, Mr. President, unless any of the council members have a final point or question, my position is to close the public hearing.
Very well. Thank you, Councilor. All right, we are back in session, and we will start with communications from the mayor. And first, orders, starting with C-58.
C-58. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requested an appropriation of $22,500 be made to the election registration capital outlay expense account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund regarding purchase of 15 electronic poll pads.
C-58 is referred to the Chairman of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course.
Very well. C-58 has been given regular course. Moving on to C-59.
C-59, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the City Council review and accept the proposed intermunicipal agreement between the City of Leominster and Town of Lancaster for the provision of water service.
C-59 is referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. First time on the calendar, regular course with a referral from the Department of Public Works, the Water Department, the Treasurer, and the Mayor's Office.
Very well. C-59 has been given regular course with referrals to DPW, the Water Department, the Treasurer, and the Mayor. Moving on to appointments.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Nicholas Prevail to the Board of Appeals, alternate member, term to expire 4/15/2022.
The appointment or proposed appointment of Nicholas Prevail is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, and I will ask Madam Clerk to invite Mr. Prevail to our next meeting for an interview.
Very well. The proposed appointment of Nicholas Prevail is given regular course, and we will set up an interview. And moving on to the next appointment.
Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests the appointment of Lori Nelson to the Cultural Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024.
The confirmation of the appointment of Lori Nelson is referred again to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, regular course, and I would ask Madam Clerk to invite Ms. Nelson to our next regular meeting for an interview.
Very well. The confirmation of Lori Nelson has been given regular course with an interview to be scheduled in our next meeting.
Council President Bedanza.
Yes.
For those interviews, maybe schedule them for 5:55 at the next meeting. I know it's a little earlier than we usually do, but we have a lot.
Unless any councilor has an objection, that may be done. Do I hear anything from the floor? Okay, that may be done. All right, moving on to petitions, first time on the agenda, starting with 37-21.
37-21, Susan Chalifo Zephyr, on behalf of Ginny's Helping Hand, Inc. Request to renew license to deal secondhand articles at 52 Mechanic Street.
37-21 is referred to the chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regular course, and I believe we already have our referrals, so we're all set. Thank
All
you.
right, very well. Thank you very much. 37-21 has been given regular course. Moving on to 38-21.
38-21, National Grid. Request to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary and protecting fixtures, along and across the following public way. Marshall Street. National Grid to one solely owned pole on Marshall Street, beginning at a point approximately 960 feet northwest of the center line of the intersection of Main Street, and continuing approximately 15 feet in the southwest direction. Install one sole owned pole with an anchor and transformer to be used to provide service to the MBTA.
38-21 is referred to the chairwoman of Public Service.
Yes, Mr. President, regular course. And could I ask the clerk to be sure that the neighbors in that area are properly given proper notice so that they're aware of what's going on?
Sure, I sent out a certified abutters notification that I received from the assessor's office before we have the hearings, and I'll continue to do so per the law. No problem.
Perfect, thank you.
Do you want to establish that hearing date now, Counselor?
Yes, so we need a hearing date on March 8th at 6:34 p.m.
Okay, all those in favor of establishing a hearing date on 38-21 of March 8th, 2021 at 6:34 p.m., please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The hearing date is so established. Moving on to 39-21.
Sorry, my page stuck. 39-21. Richard M. Marchand, request to close off the following city streets and city property in downtown Leominster to host the 28th annual Johnny Appleseed Arts and Cultural Festival. The festival will take place on Saturday, September 25th, 2021, with a rain date of Saturday, October 2nd, 2021. West Street from School Street to Main Street. Park Street from West Street intersection in the Church Street vicinity to Main Street. The City Hall parking lot. The city parking lot adjacent to the City Hall located off West Street. The city parking lot defined spaces located between the First Baptist Church and the First Church Unitarian. Church Street from Merriam Avenue to West Street. The section of Church Street to be closed off is still available with an altered egress pattern for public safety vehicles and business. The time of closure requested is from 6 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening.
Very well. 39-21 is referred to the chairman of city property.
First time on the agenda, regular course with referrals to the Leominster Police Traffic Bureau, Mayor's Office, and the Fire Department.
Very well. 39-21 has been given regular course with referrals to the Police Traffic Department, the Mayor's Office, and the Fire Department. Moving on to 40-21.
40-21. David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, request to install a stop sign on Lincoln Terrace against northbound drivers at Graham Street. Council President, may I put these in block? There should be 5 of them.
You may.
41-21. David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, request to install a stop sign Hardy Drive against northbound drivers at Union Street. 42-21. David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, request to install a stop sign on Hardy Drive against westbound drivers at Pleasant Street. 43-21, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, request to install a stop sign on Francis Street against southeastbound drivers at Willard Street. 44-21, David R. Cormier, Ward 3 Councilor, request to install a stop sign on Tucker Drive against eastbound drivers at New Lancaster Road.
40-21 through 44-21 are referred to the chairman of legal affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. Each of these petitions will be given regular course. I'd like a referral to the police department traffic agent for each of these petitions. And we're going to need to vote on establishing public hearings for 40-21, March 8th, 2021 at 6:35 PM. For 41-21, March 8th, 2021 at 6:36 PM. For 42-21, March 8th, 2021 at 6:37 PM. For 43-21, March 8th, 2021 at 6:38 PM. And for 44-21, March 8th, 2021 at 6:39 PM. We just need to take a vote to establish those public hearings.
Very well, Counselor. You've heard, well, first of all, 40-21 through 44-21 have been given in regular course with a referral to the Police Department Traffic Agent. You've heard the request by the Chairman of Legal Affairs to establish public hearings on 40-21 for March 8th at 6:35 PM, 41-21, March 8th at 6:36 PM, March 8th for 42-21 at 6:37 PM, March 8th for 43-21 at 6:38 PM, and March 8th for 44-21 at 6:39 PM. All in favor of establishing those hearing dates and times, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Those hearing dates and times are established by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to matters before the City Council, starting with the City of Leominster's financial report.
Thank you, Mr. President. We began the fiscal year on July 1st, 2020 with $14,189,152.27. To date, we've gained some interest, plus we deposited the fiscal year 19 free cash that was certified, and that the interest in the free cash totaled $7,425,127.71. Through tonight's agenda, and including the item that is on there for the first time, if approved, we will have spent $3,908,005, leaving us a balance of $17,706,274.98, and that's the financial report.
Does any councilor have any questions on the financial report? Very well. We'll move on to finance, starting with C55. Is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, I do have a conflict of interest. I have a brother that serves in the fire department, so I would to the clerk, please, if you could.
Very well. Your abstention is noted, and we will have the clerk report on C55.
Thank you, Mr. President. C55, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $250,000 be made to the fire overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. We did receive communication from the fire department, Chief Sidlow. The communication was dated February 1st of 2021. It's to Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor. This is regarding a supplemental appropriation request of $250,000. Dear Mayor Mazzarella, the fire department requests the sum of $250,000 for overtime costs from whatever funding source the comptroller deals appropriate. Overtime spent to date is related to normal contract obligations, 6 recruit members in the fire academy, 2 members activated for military leave, 1 member requiring duty injury coverage, and 1 member on long-term sick leave. Overtime funds needed for the remainder of this fiscal year will be used for the above, with the addition of 3 retirement vacancies. 3 members will be attending fire academy training and 1 member remaining on long-term duty injury. Thank you for your continued support. Should you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact this office. And again, that's Chief Sidlow. Mr. President, it would be my position to support this and ask that we make this appropriation this evening. And I'd ask you to check with the 3rd member, Councilor Angelini.
Very well. Councilor Angelini, your position?
I would support the appropriation request as well, Mr. President.
Very well. You've heard a unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C55. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Counselor Feckley,
Yay.
Counselor Angelini,
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger,
Yay.
Counselor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0 with one abstaining. C-55 is granted. Does the clerk have an order?
I do, Mr. President. Order that the sum of $250,000 be appropriated to the fire overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the order, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0 with one abstaining, the order is adopted. Moving on to C-57, is the chairman ready to report?
Yes, Mr. President, C-57, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that an appropriation of $256,000 be made to the Police Department overtime account, the same amount to be transferred from the stabilization fund. This was granted on February 8th by an emergency preamble. Although it says February 8th of 2022, it actually February 8th of 2021. We just need to ratify this. And it would be my opinion that we go ahead and ratify this. Just once again, for the public, these were mandates placed upon us by the federal government, as well as the police reform bill, which is a substantial part of this, or most of it is for mandatory training that needs to occur. So it would be my opinion that we ratify this C-57, and I'll ask you to check with members of my committee.
Very well. Counselor Pauline Cormier
I agree.
and Counselor Angelini.
I'll make it unanimous, Mr. President.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to ratify C-57, or is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Counselor Frida?
Yay.
Counselor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Counselor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Counselor Feckley?
Yay.
Counselor Angelini?
Yay.
Counselor Arndinger?
Yay.
Counselor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Counselor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay. C-57 is ratified by a vote of 9-0. Moving on to legal affairs, is the chairman ready to report on C-56?
I am, Mr. President. Unless there's opposition, I'd entertain a motion to waive the reading.
Very well. Any objection? Hearing none, you may proceed.
Okay, thank you. Communication 56, we had a public hearing earlier this evening. That public hearing has been continued to March 8th at 6:00 p.m. At this point, I would just ask the city clerk if she could invite the union heads, the mayor, and the police chief to call in at the next public hearing to entertain some questions. Also, I don't know if it's possible for Copeland and Page to give us a quick summary on the reform legislation, or maybe somebody from Copeland and Page could call in if the council feels that's necessary. So I'd ask my my fellow Legal Affairs Committee members, Councilor Zephyr, your position on that?
I think getting a written, well, I don't know if it's a written opinion, but if Copeland and Page does have a summary of the police reform legislation and how that impacts, taking these two positions of civil service, I think that would be really helpful. That would be helpful in advance of the meeting. And then depending on what that says, it may or may not make sense to have a Copeland and Page attorney on the line for the next public hearing.
Okay, I agree with that. I'm sure this has been requested of them before. Councilor Cormier, your position?
I also agree with that. I mean, I'm not certain that it's necessary that somebody from KP Law be on the line, but certainly if they can give us a brief, description of how this new law affects things versus, how things currently are in civil service, that'd be great. But I don't personally have any personal questions for them at this point that I would require them to be on the line with us.
Okay. So, Mr. President, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just would want the council to know that on February 17th, KP Law sent us an email entitled Update Police Reform. There's a PDF attached to it, which is their analysis of police reform and how it impacts their municipal clients. So that's available to all the councilors. I'm guessing that should be sufficient. I don't really think we need to spend the money on having someone specifically address us.
No, that would be fine with me.
Okay. Unless anybody feels differently.
So the recommendation then is further time.
I believe Madam Clerk, we already established formally the hearing date, correct?
Yes, March 8th, 2021 at 6.
All right. So all we're going to do now is I believe that's unanimous recommendation of your committee, Councilor Dombrowski, for further time.
It is.
Okay. You've heard unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-56 further time. Any further discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes, Councilor Frida.
I just want to make one comment. This is an important step. I don't think we should jump into this without having all the information before us. Whatever we decide on this is going to be long-term for the city. So I think we need to take our time and do it the right way and get all the information that everybody has questions about. I also am a little disappointed. Back in December, I requested that we have KP Law come in, as they've done in the past. We haven't seen them for well over a year, to come in and give us updates on litigation, on police issues. We know we have, it's been on the front page of the paper that we have police lawsuits against us for the police. It would be very helpful to know, what we've gone through for the past 10 years without a permanent chief. I think that's crucial, and I would like to see that happen. And I think every councilor should hear exactly what our status is in the community before we go changing how we do business. So I would hope that the clerk could send a reminder to KPR on having them come in. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We will, Madam Clerk, would you please contact Mr. Riley and see whether that may be done. It may be that update will have to be delivered in an executive session. It would seem that most of it would involve pending litigation.
It is always an executive session.
Well, it depends on what he's going to address us with. But assuming that it's pending litigation, yes, it would.
Well,
be
we know
an
there
executive
are.
session.
So.
Well, we don't know what he's going to address us with yet. That's why we're asking him to come down. But Madam Clerk, if you would please get in touch with Attorney Riley and see when he's able to come down and address us, that would be appreciated.
I'll send him a reminder.
All right, so we are back to C-56, which is what's before us, and that is the Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of further time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? C-56 has been given further time. Moving on to 25-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 25-21, Elizabeth Wood, Economic Development and Planning Director. Request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to home occupations. The attached letter. We had a legal affairs subcommittee meeting last week. Most of the councilors were in attendance. At the time, we deliberated the exact language that we would like to use, and we ended up, the subcommittee ended up agreeing to language that was suggested by the council president. So initially, I'm going to make a motion to amend 25-21 to read as follows for purposes of submission of the ordinance. Home occupation / office, a business use conducted within a dwelling unit that is incidental and secondary to the primary residential use, carried on by inhabitants of the dwelling only, that does not alter the residential character of the property and is not prohibited by this zoning ordinance's table of uses, and further complies with all the criteria of the regulations required in connection with generally permitted uses. I would just ask for a second to my motion.
I'll second that, Councilor Angelini.
True. So, Mr. President, if we could vote on the amendment.
Yeah, you have a motion and a second by Councilor Angelini. Is there any discussion on the motion to amend? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion to amend, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Or the petition is amended by a vote of 9-0. Councilor Dombrowski, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the things that Council Frida had a question at the subcommittee meeting as to how this will affect things going forward. I was able to do some research on this. My research determined that, you know, this is truly something that's done on a case-by-case basis. However, this amendment in this petition really is more of a clarification of the definition. So although it is done on a case-by-case basis, I don't think that this particular definition is going to make something that is a proper home occupation improper, or vice versa, make something that is improper proper. I think they're all going to have to stand on their own merits as determined by the building inspector in the zoning board of appeals if it's appealed to them. So I hope that gives some clarification to Council Frida. My position is to grant this petition as amended. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
I agree.
And Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 25-21 as amended. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Feckley.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini. Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger.
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. 25-21 is adopted. Moving on to 26-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 26-21, Elizabeth Wood, Economic Development and Planning Director. Request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to lot frontage and adding a definition for paper streets. The petitioner, we had this as a subject of our subcommittee meeting last week. The petitioner had requested further time to get back to us with perhaps some better language. So my recommendation is further time. I just ask you to poll my committee quickly.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yes, I agree with that.
And Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 26-21 further time. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of further time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, 26-21 has been given further time. Moving on to 27-21. Does the chairman have a report?
I do, Mr. President. Petition 27-21, Elizabeth Wood, Economic Development and Planning Director, request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to solar. This is also a request to amend the table of uses pertaining to solar. The public hearing in this matter has been continued to March 8th, 2021 at 6:45 p.m. Accordingly, the recommendation is further time.
Very well. And I will check. I think that what you've already formally did that as a committee, right? In subcommittee. So you heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 27-21 further time. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of granting 27-21 further time, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, 27-21 is given further time. Moving on to 29-21. Is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 29-21, Massapoig Road Corporation, care of Lascotti Development Corporation, request to accept Massapoig Road and Dobson Circle as public ways, along with associated stormwater drainage easement. We had raised a lot of questions that Attorney Everett from KP Law addressed in a letter to the City Council dated February 9th, 2021. Should I read that into the record, Mr. President?
Why don't you summarize it, if you could? It's pretty lengthy.
Okay, I'll try to summarize it. Essentially, the city, there was a reference to a stormwater drainage easement in the deed. We questioned whether or not the city needed that. KP Law has essentially said that the city does need that, but we're not necessarily responsible for facilities within the drainage area, but we do need the easement in case of emergencies. The homeowners association was properly set up. According to Attorney Everett, the notices on record are sufficient notices for the homeowners, and that the detention basin will be the responsibility of the homeowners association. And I think that letter concludes the last remaining issues that the Legal Affairs Subcommittee had with this particular petition. And my position is that we grant petition 29-21, and I would ask that you poll my committee.
Very well, gleefully. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
I agree.
And Councilor David Cormier.
I totally agree.
You heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 29-21. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. President, Councilor Dombrowski, quickly.
Yes.
I just want to, this particular petition dragged on so long for so many reasons, but we would be remiss if we did not thank Lascotti Development Corporation, one of the few developers in this project that stepped up to the plate and took care of getting all the legal work done so that the residents, we could approve this as a public way for those residents. So I wanted to make sure that we appropriately thank them on the record.
I agree, Councilor, and we can scratch a few off the list. Anytime we can do that, it's a big plus. Any other discussion before we vote?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, Councilor Cormier.
I'd like to echo those same comments as well. That we are lucky that the developer did step up to the plate here and didn't just, abandon these roads. We all know what kind of headaches that causes people. And I would just like to say, one additional thing that I had asked a meeting ago if all of the language that was laid out in the deed that's going to be recorded that will legally turn the road over, to the city, if that is all complete. And Copeman and Page did indicate that it is. It's all finalized. So with that, I would just like to publicly say that with the passage of this tonight, if it does pass, I expect this to be recorded. I'm hoping no later than the end of next week. I don't see any reason why it should not be done within a week and a half, 2 weeks at the most. So I don't want this to really drag out. This has all been finalized, we've been told, and it should be recorded by the end of next week, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, this will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski.
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Feckley.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Arninger.
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. 29-21 is granted. Moving on to 32-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Petition 32-21, Elizabeth Wood, Planning and Economic Development Director. Request to amend the zoning ordinance pertaining to the floodplain. This matter, the public hearing has been continued to March 8th, 2021 at 6:40 p.m. I'd request further time under those circumstances. I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
I agree with that.
And Councilor David Cormier.
I also agree.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant 32-21 further time and establish a continued hearing on March 8th, 2021 at 6:40 p.m. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of granting 32-21 with the aforementioned public hearing date and time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, 32-21 has been given further time with a scheduled public hearing. Moving on to 33-21, is the chairman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Unless there's an objection, I'd like to take 33-21 to 35-21 in block.
I hear none, so you may do that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Petition 33-21, Gail Feckley, amend section 13-77 stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for southeastbound traffic on Linda Street at Day Street. Petition 34-21, Gail Feckley, amend section 13-77 stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for northwestbound traffic on Tina Street at Lincoln Street. Petition 35-21, Gail Feckley, amend section 13-77 stop signs of the Leominster Municipal Code by adding a stop sign for southwestbound traffic on Tina Street at Linda Street. We had public hearings on these petitions this evening. It was determined that the police department is in favor of all three. The Legal Affairs Committee has already recommended its unanimous support for all three petitions. I'd like to just thank Councilor Feckley for her hard work, and unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee is to grant petition 33-21, 34-21, and 35-21.
Is there any further discussion on the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs relative to 33-21, 34-21, and 35-21? Okay, hearing none. This will be by roll call. I think we have to do these one at a time. Am I not right, Madam Clerk?
You're correct, and we did just accidentally lose Frank, so you know.
Okay. Is he call? Yeah, I assume he's calling back in.
I believe so.
All right, so we'll start with 33-21. This will be by roll call vote, starting with Councilor Frida.
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
He hasn't made back on yet.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
You have Frank back yet?
Not yet. I can note that he dropped the call for the vote. Oh, here he is.
My apologies.
Councilor Ardinger, that's okay. We just, all of us except for you have voted affirmatively to approve 33-21 as recommended unanimously by the Legal Affairs Committee. What is your vote?
Yay.
Thank you very much, Councilor Ardinger, and my vote is yay as well by a vote of 9-0. 33-21 is granted. 34-21, again, unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs is to grant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, by roll call, Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay. 34-21 is granted by a vote of 9-0. And the final stop sign, 35-21, also unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs. Any last discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call, starting with Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. 35-21 is granted. Moving on to public service, and 36-21 is the chairwoman ready to report.
I am Mr. President, 36-21, National Grid and Verizon. Request to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way. Hill Street, National Grid to install one jointly owned pole on Hill Street, beginning at a point approximately 675 feet south to the center line of the intersection of Low Street and continuing approximately 16 feet in a western direction, installing a new pole that numbers 27-84 with an anchor roughly 27 feet from existing pole number 25 to allow for the anchor to set approximately 5 feet away using a sidewalk fixture to stay in the public way. Pole number 27-84 is to help prevent pole number 27 from leaning too far over. We had a public hearing tonight. It's been continued, and the recommendation would be for further time.
Okay, and I think we've already established a public hearing date and time, correct, Counselor?
We have March 8th.
At 6 o'clock. Very well. So you've heard, and I assume your committee is all in agreement with this, Councilor Feckley?
Yes, all set.
Okay, Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Agreed.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of public service to grant 36-21 further time with Councilor, okay, any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. President, it's Councilor David.
Yeah, I have your
I will be abstaining. It's partially owned by my employer. Thank you.
Very well. Your abstention is noted. Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of further time, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 8-0, 36-21 is granted further time with Councilor David Cormier abstaining. Moving on to Ways and Means, is the chairwoman ready to report on the appointment or confirmation of William Connor?
I am, Mr. President. A measure confirming the mayor's appointment of William Connor to the position of Chief Assessor for the city of Leominster for a term of 3 years, effective immediately. So we had Mr. Connor come to us virtually this evening for an interview. Bill has been the interim assessor for the past 10 months. He has certainly does have the background that I can see why he was hired by the city of Leominster to be in the assessor's office. He has successfully navigated the DOR requirements this year and certainly gave us an excellent explanation of the tax classification during our hearing a couple of months ago. He seems to have all the certifications necessary, has some very strong people working for him. So my recommendation would be that we confirm the appointment of William Connor to Chief Assessor for the City of Leominster. And I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida
I support that.
and Councilor Dombrowski.
I also support that.
Very well. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the appointment of William Connor to the position of Chief Assessor for the City of Leominster for a term of 3 years, effective immediately. Any further discussion?
Yes,
Hearing
Mr.
none.
President, I just want to comment, Councilor Frida. I just want
Yes.
to comment that he's, Mr. Connor is very professional in his job. I deal with a lot of assessors' offices, and he's really professional and does well for the city of Leominster. Knowledge. We've had many conversations just about real estate in general, values and assessment, fair market value, and he really comes from a high source of knowledge. So I'm happy to support his confirmation.
Thank you for your positive comments, Councilor. Any other discussion? Okay, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The appointment of William Connor to the position of Chief Assessor is approved, confirmed rather. Moving on to a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Thomas Bissonnette. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Yes, a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Thomas Bissonnette to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2024. Mr. Bissonnette has been a longstanding member of the Recreation Commission, and I see no reason why he shouldn't continue on, and we should be grateful that he is willing to do so. So my recommendation would be that we confirm his reappointment, and I would ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida
I agree. John does a good job.
and Councilor Dombrowski.
I agree.
All right, you heard the recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Thomas Bissonnette to the Recreation Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr, Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier,
Yay.
and I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The mayor's reappointment of Thomas Bissonnette to the Recreation Commission is confirmed. Moving on to a measure confirming the reappointment of Maureen Donatelli to the Recreation Commission. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. A measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Maureen Donatelli to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2024. We did receive a communication from the mayor that this reappointment has been withdrawn. So my recommendation would be that we withdraw it without prejudice, and ask you to poll my committee.
All right, Councilor Frida
I agree.
and Councilor Dombrowski.
I agree.
You've heard unanimous recommendation to allow the mayor's reappointment, Maureen Donatelli, to be withdrawn without prejudice. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of allowing the mayor's reappointment of Maureen Donatelli to be withdrawn without prejudice, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the mayor's reappointment is withdrawn without prejudice. Moving on to a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of John Ciccolini to the Recreation Commission. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. A measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of John M. Ciccolini to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2024. We had received amendments from the mayor on 2 other Recreation Commission reappointments, and I want to double check with the clerk to make sure that my notes are correct. I still have that this term to expire is April 15th, 2024. And I just want to double check with the clerk that that's what she has as well.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you. Okay.
All right.
All right, so then my recommendation would be to confirm the mayor's reappointment of John Ciccolini to the Recreation Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024.
All right, and I'll check with Councilor Frida
I agree.
and Councilor Dombrowski.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the appointment of John M. Ciccolini to the Recreation Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The appointment or reappointment of John Ciccolini to the Recreation Commission is confirmed. Moving on to a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Lionel A. Charpentier to the Recreation Commission. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. I will need to make a motion to amend this measure, that the term to expire be changed to April 15th, 2023 at the request of the mayor.
Very well.
Do I have a second?
You do, Councilor Angelini.
Okay, you've heard a motion made and seconded to amend the expiration term to 4/15/2023. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The measure is amended. Do you have a report, Councilor?
Yes, thank you. A measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Lionel A. Charpentier to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023. My recommendation would be to confirm this reappointment, and I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida?
I agree.
Councilor Dombrowski?
I agree.
You've heard unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Lionel Charpentier to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida?
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski?
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr?
Yay.
Councilor Feckley?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier?
Yay.
And I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The confirmation of Lionel Charpentier's appointment or reappointment to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023 is confirmed. All right, moving on to a measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Jeffrey O'Neill to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2024. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Similarly, we did receive communication from the mayor to withdraw this request for reappointment. So my recommendation would be withdrawal without prejudice, and I'll ask you to poll my committee.
Councilor Frida?
I agree. We don't have any reasons for the withdrawals.
No. No.
Some of these people have served a long time, so I
It was
agree.
sent, yeah, the withdrawal memo was sent very shortly after the request, as a matter of fact.
Councilor Feckley, I can actually answer that if you'd like.
I would, thank you, Madam Clerk.
We just recently reappointed them already last year, so they added them in the era when they were going through their list. So they're already all set to go for a term.
Oh, okay. Good.
Well, that's a
Back
good
with us.
explanation. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you for asking, Councilor Frida. That's the positive. Thank you.
All right. So
Thank you.
so it sounds like it's all administrative. So, all right. Thank you, Councilor Frida. Councilor Dombrowski?
I agree.
Okay. You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to withdraw the mayor's measure confirming the reappointment of Jeffrey O'Neill without prejudice. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the withdrawal without prejudice, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? By a vote of 9-0, the mayor's reappointment of Jeffrey O'Neill is withdrawn without prejudice. Okay, moving on to a measure confirming the reappointment of Douglas Cormier to the Recreation Commission, term to expire 4/15/2024. Is the chairwoman ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Again, I need to make a motion to amend this measure, that the term will expire on April 15th, 2023, and I would ask for a second.
I will second that.
Council Arninger was the first one to draw. All right, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of amending the mayor's reappointment of Douglas Cormier to the Recreation Commission to reflect a term expiring 4/15/2023, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed? The reappointment is amended. Now, Madam Chairwoman, do you have a report on the amended reappointment?
Thank you. Yes, I do, Mr. President. A measure confirming the mayor's reappointment of Douglas Cormier to the Recreation Commission, term to expire 4/15/2023. And my recommendation would be to confirm the reappointment, and I will ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Frida
I agree with that.
and Councilor Dombrowski.
I also agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Douglas Cormier to the Recreation Commission, term to expire April 15th, 2023. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, by roll call, Councilor Frida.
Right.
Councilor Dombrowski.
I agree.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr.
Yay.
Councilor Feckley.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Arninger.
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
I shall be recorded as yea by a vote of 9-0. The mayor's reappointment of Douglas Cormier to the Recreation Commission is confirmed. Moving on to new business, starting with the first reading of an ordinance. This is Chairman of Legal Affairs, ready to report.
And Mr. President, petition 28-21, Elizabeth Wood, Economic Development and Planning Director, request to amend the zoning ordinance to include provision for regulating commercial kitchens. I reviewed the ordinance and made sure that it included the amendment that we made to add special permit, add that the use is allowed in the village district by special permit of the planning board and site plan approval. So we're good to go. My recommendation is to adopt the first reading of the ordinance, and I'd ask you to poll my committee.
Very well. Councilor Shalfo Zephyr. And Councilor David Cormier.
I agree.
You've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the reading, the first reading of the ordinance. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, this will be by roll call vote. Councilor Frida,
Yay.
Councilor Dombrowski,
Yay.
Councilor Shalfo Zephyr,
Yay.
Councilor Feckley,
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger,
Yay.
Councilor Pauline Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor David Cormier.
Yay.
That shall be recorded as yay by a vote of 9-0. The first reading of the ordinance is adopted. We have no old business. Is there anything under
Mr.
the?
President,
Yes, Councilor Frida.
I do have a couple of things under old business, if I could.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Just to go back to C-59 for a minute, the intermunicipal agreement.
Yes.
Could we just get an explanation as to who's asking for the intermunicipal agreement? We've supported this and just curious as to why they're changing it.
I believe, and the clerk may be able to confirm this, this is something that Copeland and Page has ultimately determined is required. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
That's correct. They determined it's a two-tiered process, and this is the second piece that they're going to require for 702 Central Street LLC to continue with what we previously voted in.
It's a good point, though, by the councilor. Maybe we could get a formal letter indicating that for our information.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because KP represents both communities, so that's why I was a little curious as to what happened here.
Yeah, well, I think we should get at least that for our records. Anything else, Councilor Frida?
Yes, I do. I have one other thing. I don't even know. I've got to be going back to years now. Someone had asked me about, they had been to Lowe's, and apparently Lowe's has veteran parking spot, and they said, how come nobody in the city has one? And I said, well, and I started to think, I put one in, I bet to maybe 3 years now, so that we have veteran parking in City Hall, at City Hall parking lot. Can we check that, see why it never went up? It was all voted on. So I just want to see where that might be.
I can pull that out for you. That was in 2018 when I first started. I actually remember it. But I have
I know it was a while back.
Sure.
Okay,
right,
maybe we could put that on the agenda of the next meeting under old business, and we can get an update on what's going on.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Frida. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody have anything under the community calendar? All right.
Mr. President.
Yes.
Just a quick note. The Leominster Rotary Club has decided to offer. We did this a couple of years ago with some grant money that we had gotten from the district for Rotary, and we provided $3,000 for emergency services. We had someone approach us the last time we did it, a young mother who had a couple of children, and the DCF was going to take them away if she didn't get heat in her apartment by the end of the day. So we decided this year that we would do that again. We don't have a grant, but we're using some of our own funds to do this. So we're providing $3,000, $100, 100 gallons at a time. So I'd provide maybe about 15 or 16. And it'd be an emergency situation. No questions asked. We're asking for honesty and trust. And if they call in the morning, they can have the oil by the end of the day. They can call any Rotarian. They can call the Rotary President, Christine Pelletier at Edward Jones, or the mayor's office. Kelly Woodland is also apprising us of any emergency situations. So I just wanted to be sure the community had that.
Okay, very well. Thank you, Councilor, for that. Anybody else have anything? Over the summer, I began working on a documentary of Leominster history from a national perspective, and really through the fine efforts of our local access television station, who produced a very wonderful piece. Tomorrow night it will air for the first time at 7 p.m. if anyone's interested. We have a great, as you all know, access television station, and they did a tremendous job on it. I think anybody that sees the production will be very proud of what Leominster has to offer in that department. Anybody else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make
So
that.
moved.
So moved.
Counselor David Cormier, do we have a second? We had a lot of.
I'll
Seconded.
second.
I don't know who I heard first, but I think it was Counselor Shalfo Zephyr.
I think so.
And all those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
I take it no one's opposed. Very well. By a vote of 9-0, we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great
Thank
rest
you.
of your evening. And a
Good night,
great
everybody.
week.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
The Leominster City Council meeting is funded in part by DeCarolis Insurance Agency at www.decarolisinsuranceagency.com.